Let's stay with that story as calls are growing louder for President Cyril Ramaphosa to take a leave of absence pending the investigation into burglary at his farm. The president will subject himself to the Integrity Commission, but others say nothing will come of this. The EFF has also accused various parties, including religious leaders, civil society groups and NGOs, of being silent as more details around the alleged burglary emerge. And of course, we do know the president is expected to table the budget vote in Parliament tomorrow. Joining me now to discuss the story further is CASAC Executive Director Lawson Naidoo, Outa Head of Legal Affairs Advocate Stefanie Fick, and Corruption Watch Executive Director Karam Singh. Good evening to you all, and thank you so much for your time. I'll begin with you, Lawson, before we get into the matter at hand. Let's talk about the appointment of Judge Rogers to the Constitutional Court.
Well, this is certainly a welcome development. It's taken some time since the President received the recommendations and a shortlist from the Judicial Service Commission. So it's a welcome appointment. The Constitutional Court has been short of full-time members of that court, so this plays an important role in adding to the capacity of the court at an important time.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Let's then get into the issue around the president. I'll start with you, Stefanie. I mean, looking at the details that continue to come out, did the president break the law?
Sure. You know what? I think let's look at just objective facts and just a proviso. I think, we are activists. There's a reason we don't get involved in politics. But I think if you objectively look at the facts in that docket, I haven't seen so much hearsay in a while. Now, that's not to say that if the police has investigated this fully and that there is a charge, that our president will be held accountable. But if you just take into account that we are heading for an election, that the way in which that complaint was laid is just so suspicious. As a prosecutor and as a defense advocate, there needs to be an enormous amount of investigation before any charge can be laid at a sitting president. We are not talking about any political office. We are talking about a sitting president. And on the one hand, I want to say that, a sitting president deserves some kind of respect. But on the other hand, it is extremely important, considering our history with state capture and the amount of, or let me say rather, the lack of accountability that there was, that we need to be very circumspect, that this is not a way of dealing with a sitting president from a political point of view. But if there needs to be accountability, all I can say, the police has got their job cut out for them, because there needs to be a lot of investigation.
Karam, fingers are also pointing at civil society. Yesterday, we heard from the EFF presser that civil society groups are silent on this particular matter. Have they been?
Well, I think if you just consider the facts of the matter, I think what civil society is doing is, waiting for proper facts to come to the fore. I mean, to accuse a sitting president of money laundering because he apparently has money stashed in furniture. There's photos of some things, but the weirdest thing about this, there's no photos. There's so much hearsay that it really is. It smacks in the face of, here's concrete evidence. What we must remember is that as an organization, and I think the guests here today will contest to that, we've been busy with state capture for a while, and a lot of the complaints against sitting politics and executives and ministers is there were more than just, I heard from someone who was there or heard from someone else that there was state capture. There's facts and clear documentation that, some of the politicians were directly involved, and then obviously other people. But in this instance, I think it is about, do the investigation so that we can see.
Karam, I'll come to you. How do you make of the president's handling of this particular matter? Because we hear him talk about not stealing taxpayers' money. This amount that was there was lesser, and some are saying he should be taking the nation into his confidence.
No, absolutely, and I think that would definitely be the position of Corruption Watch. As a bottom line at this stage in this matter. We listened to the president's speech on Sunday. There was a bit of joking still going on. I listened to the president's spokesperson on Monday saying that the president's been completely transparent and there hasn't been a cover-up. But I think fundamental to the Fraser affidavit is what appears to be a cover-up. And I think that's as concerning, if not more concerning, than the large stacks of cash in foreign currency. The fact that there's an allegation that, effectively not the SAPS, but a security force at the instructions of the president engaged in what looks like a very rough investigation, including, traveling to Namibia. So, these are the most damning allegations in this matter. And I think it's really for the president not to hide behind the notion of an investigation, but to bring us into his confidence. The president has enough credit with us, with civil society, with the country, with regard to his anti-corruption bona fides. We've seen absolute progress in certain aspects on the fight against corruption under the leadership of this president. Now, these allegations, create questions around whether we can continue to trust those bona fides. So it's absolutely on the president now to take the country into his confidence and to tell us from his perspective exactly what happened in this matter.
And Lawson, listening to what Karam just said, talking about the handling of this almost like in a joking kind of manner, was the ground fertile, especially when you go as far back as that Busasa issue that popped up in Parliament, where he then subsequently contradicted himself? We saw the audio where he admits to knowing that public funds are being used for party political campaigns, and he's prepared to fall on his sword and not say anything. Now we are here. Is this pointing towards the ANC and holding its senior leaders politically accountable? Even, what does that tell us about the accountability within that particular political party?
Thank you. Look, I think, we need to separate out these issues, not conflate issues of the Bosasa matter, which has been fully investigated and ended up with the judgment in the Constitutional Court to these allegations that are made. And I think I certainly want to say very openly and candidly that these allegations are extremely serious. Stefanie Fick has pointed out that there's a lot of hearsay contained in Mr. Fraser's affidavit, but be that as it may, these allegations are extremely serious, and there are two aspects to this. One is the law enforcement investigation process that will have to be conducted by the South African Police Service and other agencies, and that will have to take its course. But separate from that is the question of political accountability, and here I agree with Karam that the president needs to take the nation into his confidence and give us his version of the story. Why was so much cash being stored at his farm? Had those funds been declared to the relevant authorities, to the Reserve Bank and to the South African Revenue Service? And this begs the question of the kind of business that's being conducted if there are no proper records being kept. Those are all issues that I believe that the president should be able to take the nation into his confidence on, and then allow the law enforcement process to unfold. And then the third aspect of this is the internal issue, which is your question is directed at, accountability towards his political party. Well, the president can certainly go and present himself to the ANC's Integrity Commission, and they can make a finding or a decision either way. But ultimately, this is an issue of grave public importance on which the president really does need to speak out.
Now, Karam, when one looks at this particular issue and listening to what Lawson just said, you can't only look at this through the criminal lens. There's also the court of public opinion here that is going to really continue to rage in the absence of answers.
Well, absolutely. There are just too many issues involved here, from the issue around, the potential conflict of interest. Does the president have active businesses going on? Has he declared all of that? Are they being run at arm's length, or is he actively involved in that? And then, what was the response when they found out this burglary happened? Why wasn't it properly reported to the police? How was it investigated? What about all of these other quite extreme allegations from Mr. Fraser about the way this matter was handled, in response to the discovery of the theft? So I think it hurts in the court of public opinion. I think we need a contextual analysis in terms of where we are in the fight against corruption and the extent to which we can trust the bona fides of the current leadership to take us, to turn a corner on state capture. It's a difficult moment for the president, but I think there's still a lot within his power, before hiding behind a statement that we can rely on an investigation to clear up a lot of this and to try to regain some of that trust.
Stefanie, there's, of course, another finger being pointed here at the security cluster to say that by now we should have at least have heard from one or some of those ministers around what they make around these, these serious allegations. Do you think they should come out and speak?
Oh, I would love for apparently all these witnesses that witnessed, these very serious crimes to come forward. But the problem surrounding, I think what it highlights, I like to say this, is that if I understand the information correctly, that there was policemen on the scene, and the why wasn't that reported? And I think it highlights the fact that each and every day there's South Africans out there that I think struggle with exactly the same thing, that there's not enough policemen, and that sometimes you do report crimes and there's no investigations. So hopefully we will take this matter on a different level also serious, that maybe more resources to our law enforcement, more resources to the NPA. We just heard some good news, although the process is going to take a while. The Outas is hopefully on their way to South Africa, one can hope. But we do need more accountability, and accountability can only follow transparency. And part of criminal accountability is that we need to have proper investigations. Our security systems needs to focus on the right things. I mean, a few years back, I think intelligence was just as important as investigating matters. But in order to investigate in the best interest of South Africa, not certain individuals, and in order to create some narrative out there that is on a political scale. So I just want to say, hopefully we will take this to heart and really realize how important investigations is, even for normal South Africans, but more so for our sitting president.
Lawson, I watched the video yesterday that is purported to be, of the burglary incident at the farm. Of course, we haven't very independently verified it, but it ends at the part where a mattress is lifted and we can't see the handling of cash and what subsequently happens after that. If that is the only piece of evidence that is being relied upon, how difficult is it going to prove a case of, millions of cash being stored in that farm?
Well, I don't think it's possible to answer that question right now because, we must, as I said earlier, we must allow the law enforcement agencies to conduct a proper investigation to verify the allegations that are made in Arthur Fraser's affidavit and other sources of information that the law enforcement agencies might be privy to or will become privy to. And that process must run its course. I don't think we should be seeking to determine the guilt or the innocence of a president at this stage. That's for the law enforcement authorities to do in due course once the investigation has been completed, etc. I think what I'm speaking about now is the political accountability and the president taking the nation into his confidence, explaining the circumstances in which this theft of money took place, to give us some idea of the exact amounts that were involved and so on, and really to understand from his perspective how this played out, how the Presidential Protection Unit investigated the matter, what was reported to him, and how he then dealt with it. Those are the issues I think we need immediate responses to. The other things, you know, it's mere speculation if we look at the video and seek to draw conclusions simply on the basis of video evidence that is not verified at all.
Thank you so much to you all for your time. And as you say, all of you, important, questions are being asked here and they need immediate answers. So certainly let's see if the president does heed the call to take the nation into his confidence and explain as to exactly what happened here. Thank you so much for your time. That was CASAC Executive Director Lawson Naidoo, Outa Head of Legal Affairs, Advocate Stefanie Fick, and Corruption Watch Executive Director Karam Singh.